Introducing the 2017 Outstanding Virginians. Lisa Griffin. From tragedy grew purpose, as Dr. Lisa Griffin was compelled to change her career path following the suicide of her 17-year-old brother. Early on in her mental health practice, she realized the need for competent care for transgender and gender nonconforming individuals. Now, years later, she's a respected expert in the field and has dramatically changed the landscape for transgender people, and especially transgender youth in Virginia. In addition to her work advocating for transgender healthcare issues, she teaches courses on LGBTQ+ identities.
When I started this work, there was no landscape. There was no way to learn about transgender healthcare. It came into my life and just grabbed me, and it's been an incredible journey for me. I am so incredibly fortunate to have landed in work that I so deeply love and that is so meaningful. The kids and the families that I work with bring joy to my life every day. The wisdom that I gain from them, I get to recycle to other clients, and how cool is that?
Gavin Grimm. As a high school senior from Gloucester County, Gavin wanted only to get an education without the stigma surrounding the use of a restroom corresponding to his gender identity. Gavin informed school administrators that he would transition. His brave steps were initially met without incident, and he was given use of the correct restroom. An anonymous complaint thrust the issue to the local school board, where, after 2 community meetings, the school board members voted to prevent Gavin from using the boys' restroom. Gavin, along with a legal team from the ACLU and the ACLU of Virginia, sued the Gloucester County School Board.
When I came back in sophomore year, transitioned, my name had been legally changed, and so it wasn't a matter of going to my teachers and saying, hey, that, the rule says one thing, but here's who I am. Without telling us, the school board held a publicly facilitated discussion about my genitals and use of the bathroom. The school board ultimately decided that I was either to use the girls' room or an alternate facility, which consisted of broom closets that they had converted into bathrooms, unisex bathrooms. It's still a segregation. I mean, it's still saying this kid is not fit for the general population, it's not fit for common spaces with his peers, and so we're going to exile him to this space where other people don't have to be with him. And so it was just unacceptable. I just wanted to use the bathroom. And now people are looking up to me as an activist and as a representation of the transgender community, and that's just something I'm not used to, and I'm not adjusted to it quite yet, because it's not something I envisioned myself as being, and still really don't.
Michael Hamer. Virginia Beach attorney Michael Hamer is an ardent advocate for LGBT rights locally and throughout the Commonwealth. Michael came out in 2002 while married to a woman and the father of 3 children. Though his family was ultimately embracing, his employer was not comfortable with a gay partner, and Michael was let go. From then on, Michael began his advocacy work within the LGBT community, starting Michael in Norfolk, an internationally known blog on political and LGBT issues. Michael was also one of the founding members of Harbor, one of the first LGBT chambers of commerce in Virginia. In honor of his parents, Michael created the George D. and Marion Phelps Hamer Harbor Scholarship in their memory to provide funds for area LGBT students to attend college.
I got involved in activism because I wanted to make a difference and help create change. At the core, activism is to convince people that we're all the same. No one's, better than another. You are who you are, not through anything that you did yourself. It's really just fate or luck. And if people would remember that more, I think the whole world would be a lot better place.
Victoria Kidd. Victoria Kidd's advocacy for LGBTQ people began decades ago, but she's likely best known for her determined work around issues of marriage equality. Victoria and her wife Christy were 2 of the 8 plaintiffs represented in oral arguments before the U.S. Fourth Circuit Court when it considered marriage equality in 2014. The case paved the way for couples in Virginia and 3 other states to marry. A longtime supporter of Equality Virginia, she greatly helped the organization's outreach efforts, hosting cookouts for marriage equality and advocating at our annual Day of Action at the General Assembly. Today, she's the co-owner of the Hideaway Cafe in Winchester, a safe space coffee house and a ground zero for community organizing. The cafe leads programs that have enabled Victoria and her business partners to donate thousands back to their local community.
I have been an advocate for LGBTQ rights in general for more than 20 years. I started my work all the way back in college when I was one of the only openly gay individuals on my college campus. Ever since then, I have participated in any means that I could to advance LGBT rights and LGBT inclusiveness. So the Hideaway Cafe is really a place for community involvement. It's really a place where LGBTQ people can come and not only feel safe, but also participate in small ways and large ways to whatever extent is comfortable for them in continuing to advance inclusiveness and equality.
Congressman Donald McEachin. Congressman McEachin grew up in Richmond, the son of an Army veteran and a public school teacher. He returned home after law school at the University of Virginia and has been working to lift his community, including its LGBT members, ever since. For 2 decades, Donald served in Virginia's General Assembly. Throughout that time, he fought to protect our most vulnerable citizens. He's led efforts to promote LGBT equality, curb gun violence, and protect our environment. While serving in the Virginia General Assembly, he was a tireless advocate for LGBT Virginians. The congressman has also been instrumental in bringing together communities of faith and the LGBT community. Now serving in the United States House of Representatives, Donald has joined the House LGBT Equality Caucus.
The reality is that the LGBTQ community has always been part of a faith community. It's incumbent upon the faith community, however, to embrace them and to make sure we lift our brothers and sisters up so they can become the people that God intended them to be. We've all heard the saying that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. It takes us bending that arc towards justice, and we can do that, and we will do that.
Robert Rigby. As an out gay teacher, Robert has made a name for himself nationally as an advocate for the rights of LGBT students and teachers in Fairfax County. As president of the Fairfax County Public Schools Pride and a Latin teacher at West Potomac High School in Alexandria, Robert has become a key organizer in galvanizing support in the fight for stronger protections for the LGBT student population. He coordinated a grassroots movement involving statewide equality groups to further advocate for the students, staff, and faculty within his district.
Sponsoring student groups and working with LGBT students is pretty amazing and pretty inspiring in terms of seeing students take on leadership roles, educate their communities, and change the world. Fairfax County has changed enormously in the 18 years in which I've been advocating within that school system. It's been a sea change. Administrators have changed, students have become more accepting, and parents by and large have become more accepting. In my 18 years in working in Fairfax, I've run into opposition. An administrator said that if I talk about gay and lesbian kids or trans kids, then I would get fired. The administrator that said he was going to fire me years later came back and invited me to speak to his church. And it said to me, people change. That just by being there, by being out, by being open, you change minds and hearts.
Dee Subi. Dee is a steadfast advocate for transgender people in the Hampton Roads area, where she moved in 1973. Much of her early life was spent wrestling with her identity. In 1996, she came out to her then wife and later to her employer. From there, her marriage ended and she moved out. She was also fired when she came out at work. With no job and no legal recourse for her termination, she used the resourceful skills her father taught her and began building houses to get back on her feet. And in May 2007, she followed her passions and created the New Life Transgender Outreach that later evolved into the Gender Expression Movement. In 2011, she helped to found the LGBT Center of Hampton Roads. And in 2015, she co-founded TAP, the Transgender Assistance Program.
When I transitioned back in the 90s, I felt like I was all alone. I didn't know any other trans people. I could not find any resources on trans people. I swore that as I was going through that process, that I wouldn't allow anyone else to feel alone. In opening the LGBT Center of Hampton Roads, we've found there's a lot of excitement in the community. Just so many things have happened for the best. We have to remain positive and take it one day at a time in order to keep moving ahead.